Okay, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Magandang hapon sa ating special guest, kay Dr. Del Coro, sa ating mga guro, sa mga guest natin na researchers, kapwa guro, at syempre sa mga estudyante natin sa EDUC 102. At yung mga estudyante sa UP from other colleges. So thank you for coming today. So ang ating paksa ngayon ay Language and Inclusive Education. So ito ay isang kurso, isang topic sa kursong EDUC 102 or Inclusive Education. So gusto ko lang magbigay ng background. So ang ating bansa ay multilingual country. We have more than 180 languages. May mga buhay na karamihan ay buhay pero mayroon na rin mga namatay na wika. So we're among the linguistically diverse countries sa buong mundo. Noong 2009, nagkaroon tayo ng batas sa paggamit ng mother tongue sa ating school, yung L1. So ito ay nagsimula sa isang Department Orders 74, 2009. So sinasabi ng polisiya na to na ang L1 ay language of learning from kindergarten to grade 3. And then magta-transition from grade 4 to onwards. And then mayroong subject na mother tongue, Filipino and English, and the language of instruction shall be the kung ano yung L1 ng mga bata. And then ito ay naging part ng RA na K-12 law in 2013. So yun ang kanyang kwento. So nakita natin dahil sa paggamit ng mga wika, mga L1 sa eskwelahan, nakita dito na ang wika, ang language as medium of communication and interaction. Siya ay ginagamit para sa komunikasyon, sa interaction. At dahil dito, it facilitates teaching, learning, discussion, questioning, and collaboration inside and outside the classroom. So as teachers, alam natin na learning should be constructivist. Hindi lang parang banking na nakikinig yung mga bata, pero dapat nag-i-interact sila. So when they are interacting, then meaningful learning or effective learning occurs. So dahil din dito sa paggamit ng mother tongue, nakita na ang wika pala ay resource. Sometimes people think of languages as a problem. Ay maraming wika, mahirap, di magkakaintindihan. Pero from a pedagogical point of view, ang wika pala ay resource for thinking and meaning making. So dito mo na-organize ang yung ang kaalaman, and you are able to solve problem, express knowledge. And sometimes there are things that we cannot express sa isang language, nag-shift tayo sa iba, So the more languages that you know and use, then the more resources you have for thinking and communication. And then nakita rin na ang wika ay marker ng identity, culture, and heritage. Lalo na sa Pilipinas, like kung tanong ako, ano ka ba? Ano ang iyong ethnic identity? I would say ako ay Ilocano. So it becomes ethno-linguistic group. So it is tied to my identity. And for each identity, especially if it's an IP group, meron siyang mga indigenous knowledge system and practices. So naka-encode yung kanyang kultura, yung kanyang IKSP sa kanyang kaalaman. So for example, I just did a paper tungkol sa teamwork ng mga teachers sa Cordillera, sa Cancanaay, and they call it UBO. It's a reciprocity. They work, na mayroon silang pagtutulungan. Kaya kung nawala yung language, yung kanilang language for reciprocity, which is UBO or UBO, ay mawawala rin. So, importante ito sa ating identity, sa ating cultural cultural marker and heritage. And napag-aralan natin dito sa EDUC 101 a few weeks ago yung lecture ni Ma'am Lirio, yung UDL, Universal Design of Learning. So dito ay merong engagement, representation, and action and expression. So dito sa framework ng UDL, makikita natin dito na pagdating sa representation, nakalagay dun yung language and symbols as important. So dapat pag nagtuturo ka, na ituturo mo ito sa wikang naintindihan or nagkakaroon muna ng unlocking of difficult words. And then you also provide option for comprehension. So importante na alam mo kung ano yung kanilang schema na nakalagay, nakapaloob sa kanilang wika. So hindi lang naman sa representation, even sa engagement. Importante rin yung gamitin yung mga wika nila, and then representation and action. So paano natin to gagawin? So makikita natin today sa explanation sa atin ni Dr. Annie. So let me just share with you yung sa aking study sa MTBMLE. Nung lumabas ang policy na to noong 2009, meron akong inaral na isang community sa Northern Luzon, sa Bugyas. And isa sa nagawa ng MTBMLE ay nag-produce siya ng maraming storybooks, mother tongue storybooks. So nung una akong nagpunta doon in 2011, 4 pa lang yung kanilang storybooks. And then when I went back for my dissertation, 300 na yung nagawa nila. So yun ang nangyari kung mayroong batas, mayroong suporta mula sa Estado tungkol sa paggamit ng ating wika. Magpo-produce yung mga teacher ng mga learning materials. Unfortunately, inamend ito, dahil may mga politicians na ayaw nila magastos, ayaw nilang gastusan ng MTBMLE. Kaya tinanggal nila yung mother tongue as a subject. However, may nagprotesta, ayan, kasama ako dyan, yung mga estudyante natin dito sa EDUC, like sina Carl, sina Josh, sumama sila at para tuligsain yung batas na yon na in-sponsor ni Gatchalian at Romulo. And so bakit nga ba later on naman sabi ng yung batas na bago, binigyan pa rin ng espasyo. Pwede pa rin i-implement pero there are some conditions. I will discuss that later. Bakit ba na nagkaroon ng pagkontra sa MTBMLE? Siyempre, a lot of it is ideological, political. Akala nila pag ginagamit po yung mother tongue, nababawasan yung English. Pero some of it also is due to some logistical implementation issues. Nakita sa pag-aaral ng USAID, ACRC, PIDS na yung ginagamit sa school pala, kahit mother tongue yung subject, hindi naman yung wika ng bata. And then, kasi nung in-implement ng MTBMLE, nagbigay ng mga teacher's guides, curriculum guides, lesson exemplar ang DepEd. Tapos ang ginagamit ng mga language, I'm sure some of you can relate dahil may mga estudyante dito na dumaan sa MTB. Yung mga words sa math, science are archaic, makaluma, hindi maintindihan. Pati parents nagko-complain, sabi nila, hindi naman yun yung ginagamit namin sa bahay. Ayan, And so, ayan, gumagamit ng academic terms na mahirap intindihin. Kaya sabi nila, hindi naman na yan mother tongue, parang foreign language tuloy. So they gave an example, like they used the word laragway, whereas ang ginagamit is litrato. Katuloy, ano ba yung laragway? So the same in Ilocano, maraming mga languages na maraming words ang lumabas sa mga teacher's guide na hindi naintindihan. Even yung instruction. So ito yung lumabas sa mga pag-aaral. Okay, so because of opposition, marami pa rin may gusto na ipanatili ang mother tongue, kaya nagkaroon ng concession. So yung new policy, yung RA 12027, sinasabi niya, okay, pwede pa rin gamitin ang mother tongue, pero dapat mayroong language mapping. So dapat alamin nyo kung ano ba talaga ang sinasalita ng bata. So mayroong dinevelop na language identification tool so that yung gagamitin na medium of instruction ay naka-align sa salitang ginagamit ng bata. Unlike noon, pag sinabi, Western Visayas, kaya ang nilagay ng DepEd na materials ay puro Hiligay noon. Ayun pala may mga kinaray rin sa Western Visayas. So now, they are not as, hindi na yung kung ano yung native, yung popular or lingua franca. Pero ang ibibigay ng materials, for example sa Cotabato, may mga Kankanai pala doon, may mga Ibaloy, may Ilocano. So magkakaroon ng mga Ilocano classes or Ibaloy classes kahit na nasa Mindanao. Depende sa four minima, meron bang materials na gagamitin, mayroong bang orthography, at mayroong bang teachers na pwedeng magturo. So yun po ang yun ang bagong batas. So it provides a space for implementation. Okay, so ngayon we have invited a linguist. Yan, binabanggit siya ng mga mentor ko sa MTBMLE, like nga si Dr. Yung KWF chair, si Ricardo Nolasco. Kinikwento niya palagi yung prof niya noon, na si Dr. Anisha Del Coro. So, na-meet ko si Ma'am Del Coro sa isang international conference. The other month ba yun, sa Romblon. And natuwa ako sa presentation niya. So, I invited her to speak to our class. And hopefully, itong recording ng kanyang presentation will help other teachers. So, she graduated from UP. Ayan, in 1972. And she has a master's. She finished her master's in 1974. And her PhD was in 1984. All in linguistics. So talagang linguist siya. And then she took up MA in theology in 2002 sa Union Theological Seminary in Virginia. She taught linguistics for 10 years at UP, and she joined the United Bible Societies and served as a consultant in translation in the Philippines, Micronesia, and Pakistan. So since 2012, she has focused on the translation needs of Philippine Bible Society, specifically sa pagpo-provide ng Pinoy Bible. I remember the other year, bumili yung husband ko ng Pinoy Bible. I think Christmas gift niya. And natuwa talaga ako, na kakaiba siya. Okay. So now she will share with us ano yung pwede natin gawin as teachers to make the language more comprehensible and to make learning a pleasant experience. Okay, so I will stop share at siyang mag-share ng kanyang PowerPoint. So, Ma'am Annie, take it away.
Po ako.
Opo, ma'am.
Share. This is the correct way. Daw. Oh. Should I be in the...
Yes, ma'am. Buksan niyo po yung PowerPoint like you did earlier.
Nakabukas na po.
Yan. I-click nyo na po ulit yung share, yung kagaya kanina.
Ito share sa taas. Isa lang ang nakikita kong share dito.
Ayan po, ma'am. Kasi pwede sa taas, pwede sa baba.
Kaya, I see. Okay, I think this is the one.
Okay, ma'am.
Share. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, now I will put it in
presentation mode.
Presentation mode. Do you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Shall I start?
Yes, yes po.
All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Maraming salamat po sa invitation ni Dr. Ched. At hindi ko pa, the host has spotlighted your video. Okay. So, hindi ko pa masyadong alam kung paano magiging very useful ang aking presentation. But that is my desire, of course, na maging very useful ang aking presentation kasi alam ko ang tungkol sa MTBMLE. Because of my field also, I was exposed to the different very difficult discussions, and even the changes in the position of people and institutions regarding the choice of a language for children, starting from kindergarten to grade 3. So, very challenging ang ating problema. So, ang desire ko lang po at panalangin ay makatulong kahit na paano itong aking presentation. Simulan ko na po. Okay. So, I have entitled my presentation, Ang Bible Pinoy Version. This is the story. This is really the story of the Ang Bible Pinoy Version. So, I usually start with this slide of a gift. This is a gift, and when you open it, it has the two editions of the Ang Bible Pinoy Version. You have the Protestant edition, and the one on the right is the Catholic edition with the cross, with the Maltese cross. So, because I really believe that the Pinoy version is a gift of the Philippine Bible Society to all Filipinos, because it is a Bible that people, and I must say, I really believe the majority of the Filipinos, and I would say something like 80 to 90%. And the reason for that is because of the teaching of Filipino or Tagalog. Now, I'm not very particular at this point with the choice of term, because I know that this can go a long way when we try to distinguish. So hindi po ako masyadong magdi-distinguish ngayon. So I'm going to give you a sample of a text from the Ang Bible Pinoy Version. I will just call it Pinoy Version for short. So this is from Genesis, chapter 27, starting with verse 30 and following verses. Meron po siyang section heading. Nagmamakaawa si Esau para sa blessing ni Isaac. Verse 30. Blines na nga ni Isaac si Jacob. Pagkaalis ni Jacob, saka naman dumating si Esau, galing sa paghahunting. Nagluto din siya ng masarap na pagkain at dinala yon sa tatay niya. Sabi niya, Tay, upo na kayo. Kainin niyo itong niluto kong karne para sa'yo, para mabless niyo na ako. Sino ka? Tanong ni Isaac sa kanya. Ang panganay niyo po, si Esau, sagot niya. Nanginig ang buong katawan ni Isaac. Sabi niya, sino yung nagdala sa akin ng pagkain na hinanting daw niya? Katatapos ko lang kumain bago ka dumating. Blines ko na siya at hindi ko na yon mababawi. Pagkarinig dito ni Esau, umiyak siya ng sobrang lakas. Nasaktan talaga siya. Sabi niya, i-bless mo din ako, Tay. Please, ako rin. Sumagot si Isaac. Pumunta dito yung kapatid mo at niloko niya ako. Nakuha na niya yung blessing na para sa'yo. Sabi ni Esau, tama lang talaga na Jacob ang pangalan niya. Inisahan na naman niya ako. Dati, kinuha niya yung karapatan ko bilang panganay. Tapos ngayon, kinuha pa niya yung blessing na para sa akin. Tapos sabi pa ni Esau, wala na po bang natirang blessing para sa akin? Sumagot si Isaac, Anak, ginawa ko na siyang amo mo. Ginawa ko na ring alipin niya ang lahat ng kamag-anak niya. Binigyan ko na siya ng pagkain at alak. Wala na akong mabibigay sa'yo, anak. Nagmakaawa pa rin si Iso sa tatay niya. Tay, isa lang po ba talaga ang blessing mo? I-bless mo din ako, tay. At umiyak pa si Iso. So that is a sample from Genesis. Now I will read the samples from verses from the New Testament. Matthew 23:15. Kawawa kayo mga teachers ng law at mga Pharisees. Mga plastic, nilalakbay nyo ang mga dagat at iba pang lupain sa buong mundo para lang i-convert ang isang Gentile sa pagiging Jew. At pag nangyari yon, ginagawa niyo pa siyang mas deserving pumunta sa impyerno kesa sa inyo. And from Philippians chapter 4 verse 1, mga kapatid kong minamahal, miss na miss ko na kayo. Sobrang pinapasaya niyo ako. Sobrang pinapasaya niyo ako. At proud na proud ako sa inyo. Kaya nga mga minamahal, ganito ang gawin niyo para tumatag ang buhay niyo kasama ang Panginoon. So ito po ang Bible Pinoy version. Sabi ko nga, we call it, I have always described it as a gift to all Filipinos because it's a translation that is very easy to understand. And here I have a congratulations because the first when I presented this to the San Rocan Festival, I gave a free copy to all the participants. And I was ready to do that for all the participants in our meeting today. But I was told that we are meeting online. So, but anyway, that was my intention because I know that you can really appreciate the Pinoy version if you have your own copy and you read it and you use it. So, siguro po sa ibang pagkakataon. Now let me go on with my presentation. In 2002, I returned from the US wanting to be more grounded in my biblical languages and theology. Did you take note of the year? 2002, just about the turn of the century. Did you wait with a bated breath, the ticking of the clock, when the year changed from 1999 to 2000? Yes, it was a dud. But what seemed like a dud exploded. Days, months, even years later. It was no lemon after all. I knew there was something going on. When I returned, I think this is the time. I returned, I think, in April 2002. I was in the US for a year. That was the time pasaway was already very popular. The dictionary gives the meaning undisciplined, hard-headed, or disobedient. It was a new word for me. Plus or minus 6 months before and after April 2002, I would say that was around the time the word was born. Meaning became popular with that meaning. This can be validated by looking at literature or published materials. Now, in the past, it was very hard to date the first time, or at least the very early time that a word is used in the language. But in my observation now, we can date the words when they were started, when people started to use these words. At isa na po itong pasaway. You can validate this. If I had the time, I will do it. But I am almost sure that what I'm saying is true because I never used the word pasaway. But when I came back, oh, everybody was using pasaway and I was the outsider. Galing po ako sa ibang bansa. So I had a very interesting, I was thinking of the language around me. So I said to myself that the best way probably was to do a chronological analysis, chronological account. You know, as a linguist, the language is my specimen and the world is my laboratory. That is how I see my work. So the specimen is the language that I hear people use, even me, a participant of that language, and the world is my laboratory. So I use two materials, more than two actually, but I am going to mention only these two. These are short love novels. The first one, Mind to Keep by Cali Delphine, and the other one is actually it's a book by Ricky Lee, Trip to Quiapo. I will read some excerpts. Excerpts from Mind to Keep, and later the one by Ricky Lee. This was in 2007. Oh, Kara, stop crying, please. Aniya sa kakambal at kaagad na tinabihan ito sa mahabang couch sa sala ng condo unit niya. Don't worry, we'll find out a way to fix this together. Do you hear me? Then I will go to the next one by Ricky Lee. This was in 1998. The one by Cali Delphine was 2007. This one was earlier by Ricky Lee. Isi-share din ng librong ito ang mga karanasan ko sa pagsusulat sa pelikula at TV sa loob ng 18 taon at sa pagtuturo ko ng scriptwriting at pagkokondak ng workshop sa ganoon ding kahabang panahon. Brinake ka ng girlfriend, damdamin mo, nadidepress ka sa mga nakikita sa kalsada, namnamin mo, huwag kang umiwas sa emosyon, huwag kang tumalikod sa dilim, piliin mo ang malunod, don't play safe. So what I'm showing you here is the use of the language 2007, but this one earlier, 1998. These samples of language, which became very popular much later, but they were already used in this form. So you see, I am with the Philippine Bible Society, and as a linguist of the team, it is I take it as my responsibility and my interest, I suppose, because of my field. My responsibility is to watch out what's happening out there. What are the people using? Because we are into Bible translation. And so we were anticipating, is Bible translation going to change because of this new developments? And so I started thinking about this in 2000 after I came back. 2002, I tried different ways, but to make my long story short, we had our workshop. We had PBS decided that we will have a workshop to really investigate, and this is what we did. Oh, these are the people who attended the workshop. You will see that they are young people, and most of them are from UP. And I have my professor, Dr. Ernesto Constantino here, my advisor, and a very, I would say, one of the best linguists, one of the best in the Philippines. So what did we do? So we really gave them, we gave the meaning. We gave the meaning of a particular verse using different ways, but without saying it in Tagalog or Filipino, without saying it, but we always gave instructions, say this meaning in the most natural, interesting, beautiful way. And so the result of our workshop is this. Mark 2:7. So this actually became parts of the New Testament that we have today. Mark 2:7. Grabe, bakit ganyan magsalita ang taong iyan? Isa itong blasphemy. Diyos lang ang pwedeng magpatawad ng mga kasalanan. Mark 2:8. Agad na realize ni Jesus ang kanilang iniisip. Mark 13:1. Nang papalabas na si Jesus sa templo, sinabi ng isa sa kanyang mga disciples, Sir, tignan nyo ang gara ng mga bato at nakakabilib ang mga buildings. Mark 13:5. At sinabi ni Jesus sa kanila, mag-ingat kayo at huwag magpapaloko. Mark 13:9. Maging ready kayo. Kayo ay makukulong, sasaktan sa synagogues dahil disciple ko kayo. Ihaharap kayo sa mga hari at governor at gagamitin nyo yun para ma-share ang good news. So, these are examples of verses. We did not hear them expressed this way, but this is the way the participants in the workshop did their own translation. So what did we find out in that workshop? This way of speaking with a mixture of English and Tagalog and informal and very easy to understand was already existing in 2007, and I would say even before 2007. Maybe at the turn of the century, it was already being used. But we found out only after we had our workshop. Now, some basic concepts in translation. Two basic approaches. Matthew 14:6. Genesiois de genomenois tu Herodu. When birthday happened of Herod, I am translating literally. Ngunit nang dumating ang pagdiriwang ng kaarawan ni Herodes. So this is a literal rendering of the Greek. So, nang dumating ang pagdiriwang, happened. So this is a very close rendering or translation. This is from the Ang Biblia. We call this kind of translation formal correspondence or literal translation. The other way is, of course, the same verse. Now, it is from the Pinoy version. Nung nag-birthday si Herod. Because that is the way you'd say it. Easy, direct to the point, interesting. But you might need words from another language, and that is English. So this is a dynamic equivalent translation, or another way, another label is meaning-based translation. So and then I asked myself, was the shift to 2000 really a dud? You know, people said, oh, wala naman nangyari. You know, when we were watching the fireworks at New Year's Eve, I know it started with New Zealand and then it went to the other countries, tapos Philippines na. We were not reacting because we thought it was a dud. It was a dud. Wala naman palang mangyayari. Sabi nila, hihinto ang mga tren, hihinto ang mga eroplano. Wala naman pala. Well, that was what people thought. The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman, 2006. In this book, he described the flatteners affecting language because we could not see this happening, but it was actually what was going on behind the scene. Millions of dollars were invested in putting broadband connectivity around the world. Computers became cheaper and dispersed all over the world, and there was an explosion of software, email, search engines like Google. Every individual suddenly became the author of his or her own content in digital form. So there were three major converging shifts. So that resulted in the greater access to knowledge. The attitude that people's needs can more often be met through their own initiative. People did not wait anymore for things to happen. They made it happen. So, and there is the primacy of the individual because of the above two. So, primacy of the individual. People took the initiative. They themselves can do it. And that's what we see happening in our country, in our society. That's what you have now, a situation where people have, initiated many things. They are called content creators. There's no end now to the new ways of doing things because they have to start with themselves. So this resulted in accelerated language. This is my simple way of describing it. Accelerated language. What is the Pinoy version? The Ang Bible Pinoy version or Pinoy Bible is a translation that uses two languages. That's why it's called heterogeneous language translation. It uses Tagalog and English. Some people don't like the term Taglish, but that's a descriptive term. But how much Tagalog and how much English? Categorically, I must say, the Pinoy Bible is a Tagalog translation. It's not English. It's a Tagalog translation. The English part is minor. Sometimes I describe it as having numerous borrowing. So the syntax of the Pinoy Bible is a Philippine language. We have to remember that. The syntax of the Pinoy Bible is a Philippine language, specifically Tagalog. I use the term mixing to describe the presence of some elements, but this will not represent the syntax of the language. Ang syntax po niya ay Philippine. That is the deep structure. Those who are familiar with these the terms we use in linguistics, that is to show you that really the structure of what you see with so many English words, syntax, Philippine language. So now there is a gap between spoken and written language. Okay, there is a gap. Okay. Because of being heterogeneous, there is now a gap between the way people naturally speak and the way Tagalog Bibles are written. The thesis of this study is that anything that deviates from the contemporary and natural way of saying something, as articulated in its oral form when written down, makes the sentence difficult to understand. It takes a native speaker to discern if a sentence or construction is natural. So, here you will see the role of the native speaker, because it is the native speaker who can say, is this the natural way? Is this the easy way? Is it beautiful? Only the native speakers can say that. It is inevitable in this case, with borrowing or language becoming heterogeneous, language becomes informal. This is true about the Pinoy version. This is the main criticism from those who say the Word of God has lost its holiness. That is the criticism of some people. My response, God's holiness is an attribute of God. Nothing can diminish an attribute of God. Nothing can change that. But I want to approach God. You see? This is our relationship with God. I want to approach God. I cannot approach God if He is too formal. And for that reason, He is very far. Relationship is understood in terms of distance. You know that. The farther, the more formal. The closer, the more informal. So there is a bridge. That is through language, informal language. You can bridge that gap. So if you remember that part, the first passage that I read between Esau and Isaac. So yung formality, nawawala. Very close na siya. But if you will take the usual way they would to show respect, you will not be informal. But because of language, you can bridge that gap. So anyway, that comment about the Bible losing its holiness, that was from Facebook, and I've had a chance to respond to that. Why two languages? This is to retain the natural flow of thought when we speak. There are things easier expressed in English, while some are easier said in Filipino. This combination of the two languages is what is called Pinoy style, or described as language mixing. This is often asked at the Quora.com. Why do Filipinos switch randomly between English and Tagalog when they talk in serious situations? For example, television interviews, business meetings. I have come across this comment so many times. My response: the shifting is not done randomly, but calculated. The shifting from Tagalog to English or English to Tagalog is very calculated. And who would know when to shift? Only a native speaker of our Philippine language would know when to shift. Not everybody, kaya ayaw ito. So I'm sorry to say it, but I have observed this. Some foreigners don't like, foreigners trying to learn Philippine Tagalog, for example, they don't like this. Why? Because it takes a native speaker to know when to shift. And I will tell you when they will shift. When it is difficult in English, they will shift to Tagalog. The reason for this is to achieve the optimal effect, to make our language easy, precise, and effective. The speaker who knows when it is best to shift, the speaker knows when it is best to shift, perhaps to another language. I will give you an example. Written prayer request. Attested. I don't have any example that is not attested, meaning it's written from lifted from a written source. It can be documented. So this is from a prayer request. We pray for your protective hand para sa kanyang anak na si Lorna, who is working in Dubai right now. We pray that she will be a vessel of evangelism sa maraming tao sa Dubai. When will the person shift? You see, when there is a preposition that has to be chosen, at that point, we pray for your protective hand para ano yan pag in English mo, para sa kanyang anak, para sa kanyang anak na si Lorna, who is working in Dubai right now. We pray that she will be a vessel of evangelism sa maraming tao sa Dubai. 2, 4, mahirap na naman yan, preposition na naman yan. Take note that the shift to Tagalog happens when there's a need to use a preposition in English. Tagalog has less than 10 prepositions compared to at least 50 simple and compound prepositions in English. And another very common example of this in our language is the shift to Tagalog when we will use a relative clause. Because when you use a relative clause, you are going to use an independent clause. You will use a relative clause. What will you use? Who ba yan? Which ba yan? So you see, you have to make a choice again between one relative pronoun over another. Why did PBS make such a translation? The Pinoy version wants to bridge the gap between the way people speak and the Bibles that they use. So, in the past, when we used monolingual language, our Bibles reflected the way we spoke. But now, not anymore. Our Bibles do not reflect the way people speak. So that's why PBS had to come up with another translation. The Pinoy version can now represent the language that people use every day. Kung paano po yung silang magsalita, ganyan din ang Pinoy version. Why is the Pinoy Bible a good translation? The Pinoy version meets all the requirements of a UBS Bible translation project. First, it is accurate, being faithful to its textual base. The UBS Greek New Testament, 5th edition, 2014, and the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, 5th edition, 1997. It has no doctrinal bias, and it is easy to understand because it chooses the most natural way of saying something. Who started the Pinoy Bible? I used to think the Pinoy style was initiated by PBS, but I realized that's not true. The Pinoy style evolved naturally among Filipinos in an urban multilingual situation who chose to speak in the easiest, shortest, and most natural way. So, nung pumasok po ang PBS, mag-document, pag-aralan ito, nandiyan na po ang pagsasalita. Ganyan na pong magsalita ang mga Pilipino. Pero, syempre, ilalagay lang sa kaayusan. But, so who started? It's the Filipinos themselves who started this way of speaking. The translation department of PBS provided the platform by showing how a verse is used in the translation. Who is the target audience? In 2007, that's when we start, that was in our first workshop. Ages 15 to 13, they were our target in the National Capital Region. That is our place, local. So at this point, I think they are now the millennials. Okay, those who were 15 in 2007, I am told that they are now the present millennials, and they carried on. So you see, the language will not stop; it will continue on, and that is what's happening in our language. Two ways of analyzing language: synchronic at one point in time, a snapshot, and diachronic through time at different periods of time. So Pinoy is like synchronic, describing the way people speak at a particular point in time. But it is also diachronic in the sense because we have documented the language. We have a translation of the Bible in the New Testament, 2007 up to 2018, I think. And then the last one, 2023. That is when we finish the Old Testament. So it's diachronic also. Now, in this presentation, I have an example of a verse like John 3:16, a very popular verse. And I gave two columns. First, the Magandang Balita on the left and Pinoy version on the right. I'll just go to some specific parts. Sapagkat gayon na lamang ang pag-ibig ng Diyos sa sangkatauhan, kaya't ibinigay niya ang kanyang kaisa-isang anak, upang ang sinumang sumampalataya sa kanya ay hindi mapahamak, kundi magkaroon ng buhay na walang hanggan. So, how will you say that now? in 2007. People will say that in a different way. Sobrang mahal ng Diyos. Archaic na ito, archaic na yung sobrang, yung sapagkat gayon. Sobrang mahal ng Diyos ang mga tao sa mundo, sangkatauhan, archaic. Kaya binigay niya ang kaisa-isa niyang anak para hindi mapahamak ang lahat. Sino mang is on the left, sino mang sumampalataya para hindi mapahamak ang lahat ng naniniwala sa Kanya, kundi magkaroon sila ng buhay na walang hanggan. So this is, I will skip the following verses because I went to different parts of the verse. Okay. Basic principle, parsimony. What is parsimony? Achieve optimum result in communication with minimal effort. That is what we try to achieve in the Pinoy version. Optimum result, beautiful translation, faithful, accurate, easy to understand, minimal effort. Simple, short, easy to recall, easy to pronounce. All these are important. It's contemporary easy because one does not have to spend too much time bringing it to mind. So again, I give you other examples. Ibinigay, shortened to binigay. There are a lot of cases of shortening niya, nanatili, nagstay, nagbinyag, nagbaptize, na-experience, nararanasan. Morphological derivation made easy. It enables users to enjoy the best of both worlds. Best of both worlds comparing Tagalog and English. English vocabulary, but Tagalog and Filipino syntax. That is the best of both worlds as I describe it. Ready, being ready. This is in 2 Timothy. Ready, create. Ine-expect, pre-niche, i-deny, nag-share. So, optimal result, the best, because it's short, it's easy, and it is easy to understand. But you have a choice. Are you going to use what language will you use? In here, you will see that the root word is English. Ready, create. Okay? But the way you change the morphemes, the change is done accurately by using the morphological process for that specific word. So there is the homogeneous as opposed to heterogeneous language. In the 60s and 70s, we used homogeneous. So you can look at all the TV shows, the speeches of President Marcos Sr. Straight English. There was no mixing. So even us, we like to use homogeneous language. And it was difficult for us. Homogeneous language was difficult. But the turning point was the mid-70s and 80s. Martial law, I would say, it is the turning point. And because of the martial law, you have a language of protest, Tagalog or Filipino. But I must say, the first love never left the consciousness of the Filipino people. What is the first love? The English language. First love. To me, I call that as the first love of the Filipino people. The language of protest was Tagalog or Filipino. It was convenient not only because of the contrast it showed from English, the language of the establishment, but also because the majority of Filipinos could speak Tagalog well. You don't have to, it's easy to accept. You cannot deny. Tagalog is easiest, okay? because we know it very well. The Filipino was liberated from the social dictates of an imposed language. Such was true freedom. Important features of Pinoy. Pinoy may borrow one or two words, but not a string of words. You see, we did not want, even we thought about this, we did not want a string of words in English. Why? It will be used only by those who are good in English. But we designed it in such a way that it's still faithful to the goals of the of communication, that Filipinos can make use full use of the language as it was described in this Pinoy translation. Pinoy may borrow one or two words, but not a string of words. English words are treated as one concept or meaning and not as individual words. So you say mag-thank you, magpasalamat is another way, but mag-thank you is just as good. Peace be with you. I think this is the only phrase that we retained in full English. Because if you say it in Tagalog, mahaba, unnatural. So you see, we have to think of those reasons. It uses only words stable in the language, or they have been used for at least 10 years. Grabe. It has been used for more than 10 years. Pinagtripan. We check the records. It has been used for more than 10 years. In other words, the Pinoy Bible as we have them now, Old and New Testament, they don't use words that are very new in the language. Yung bang mga bagong salta, bagong gamit, gamitin na. No, we did not do that. It has to be stable in the language. Two stages of language shift. Stage 1 covers a period of at least 20 years, 1970 to 1990, from English to Filipino. Driving force was the political upheaval, martial law. So, 20 years. Now, this is my own analysis. So, this is my own analysis. Stage 2, 15 years, 1990 to 2005. With the unprecedented speed and enormous volume, these accelerated changes resulted in the evolution of a heterogeneous language. So there was a great dilemma, a drop in the quality of English, shift from English to Filipino. There was a drop definitely in the quality. Filipinos rejoiced at the chance to express themselves in a Philippine language, but they wanted the facility to use words and expressions in English they have been exposed to and have used in the past. Okay? So, but you cannot have it both ways. But it's very true, the first love was not forgotten, English. To many Filipinos in the 70s, okay? They had an enormous amount of English as stock knowledge. But for others, as the exposure to English declined, the syntax was the first to be dropped. It is the English lexicon or vocabulary that continued to hang on. So we know English words, but sometimes Filipinos, don't know how to put them together in a grammatical way. But anyway, they still want to use those English words. This context, facility in the two languages, English and Filipino, and wanting to communicate so much and so fast, I want to emphasize that. So much information and very fast pace. It was ideal for the birth of a heterogeneous language. That is why you have, but language is very orderly. Filipinos, we know how to put that in order. So, and there are ways to evaluate the use of language so that it will still be orderly, systematic, and beautiful. So, Pinoy is a moving target. For example, in the Gospel of Mark, I will just show you this comparison that we made. In the Gospel of Mark, it came out in 2008. And then later on, we already have, we continued on with the New Testament. We have 2015. Magpabinyag, people already started to prefer magpabaptize. Magpatuloy, winelcome. Ipapaupa, ipaparent. Magdadasal, pagpe-pray. Pasalubong, opposite. So we witnessed the change in the language because, as I've said, very fast-paced, unlike before. Complex forms with suffixes, attested words in Pinoy but not yet in the Pinoy Bible. These ones, we observe them that they are happening. Complex kasi dahil may suffixes. Applyan, applyan. How will you spell it? Apply original or will you just spell it with the Y-A-N? P-L-A-Y-A-N. Philapan, Philapan. Taiman, Taiman. Replayan, Replayan. See, there are two ways of spelling. So, these ones are not yet used in the Pinoy. So, it's not really a problem. I'm just giving them as examples. But this, we have to make a decision. There is complication when the spelling pronunciation is not reflected in the correct pronunciation of the word. Examples, promise. In the New Testament, we were all decided, P-R-O-M-I-S-E. But when we were doing the Old Testament, some people wanted to start writing it as P-R-A-M-I-S, promise. But we had to make a decision because it was already becoming very common. We had to make a decision, and our decision was to have a consistent use of a term for the whole Bible, because we released the whole Bible in 2023. So we decided we will retain promise. But of course, after 2023, that is beyond us. That is beyond the control of the publisher. So we will see in the future what people will do. Pero hindi na yan kontrolado ng Philippine Bible Society. Will these words be the first cases of phonetic spelling? Corrupt. Muscle. This is difficult. When the spelling is difficult to pronounce. Sold, for the English word sold. Achieve. Philapan. Replayan. Pramisan. So, as I've said, these are not in the complete Bible. So, they will still be discussed by people because this is still part of language. Pero labas na po sa Biblia, kaya hindi na kami masyadong concerned pa rin because people will ask us, but we have already laid down our position. It is not, the Pinoy version is not disrespectful to the divine author. It does not use vulgar, tabloid language such as natsugi, natepo, nakipagbakbakan, nakipagratratan, or those words, we don't use them. What is next? A snapshot view as we see it in the Pinoy NT and OT. This is, as I've said, this is the coverage of the Pinoy NT and OT hanggang 2023. So, this was the language used within the said dates. We can, if you ask Philippine Bible Society, we can explain why we used words in that particular way. But you have words now, sumakses. How are we going to spell this? Sumakses with the double C and then double S, or K-S-E-S, or A-double-C-E-S-S. So, how do you decide? Watch what the people use. Watch what the people use. Pampaap. Oh, how do you spell that? Pampaap. But again, there is a principle that we see, but we are not going to impose it anymore because it's not in the Pinoy Bible. So I guess this is a way of calling the attention of language boards and different institutions. What is the future like? We are equipped with the science of linguistics and the Spirit of God to guide our decisions. This is how I end my presentation on the Pinoy Bible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Del Coro. Yan, nag-attend ako nun sa kanyang session sa San Roque and I was very fascinated. And ganun pa rin, Okay, so now we have 10 minutes to makinig tayo sa mga tanong,
Yes, ma'am. Shall I stop share?
Sige po, ma'am.
Okay, I will stop. Okay, I stop share.
Sige po. So, mayroon bang gustong magtanong dito? Ma'am, may tanong po ako, yun nga
Yes,
yung kanina yung pinakita ko sa studies ng PIDS. Marami, hindi lang yun. Yun ang naging hindrance sa pag-implement namin ng mother tongue-based multilingual education. Kasi nung nagsulat ng mga materials, yung mga teachers at consultant, talagang archaic yung ginamit nila.
Yeah.
Ano kaya? Bakit kaya ganun yung tendency ng mga materials developers? Kaya tuloy hindi na siya L1, hindi na siya.
I know.
Bakit kaya? Meron po bang psychology sa language?
Yeah. Well, madalas talaga, ma'am, the older the form, the more people think that that is the correct way.
Okay.
Madalas yan. Kapag kaya yung lumang pagkakasabi, sinusunod kung minsan. Pero dapat palitan na natin yan kasi magbabago na nga, mag-shift dapat yung ating values on the choices of words that we use in the language. Dapat mapapag-usapan yon. Alin bang mas importante? Mas naiintindihan o yung mas tinatanggap na formal? Kasi there is still a very strong desire for people to keep the formality. Sana lang po mabago ng konti iyon. Huwag nang masyadong formal. Yan ang pinanggagalingan ng archaic forms.
Okay. Yeah. So dapat maging learner-centered talaga siya, Hindi yung language-centered. Kasi parang mayroong tendency na maging preservationist. Gusto kong i-preserve yung wika ko, kaya tuloy ang ginagamit.
Yes. That's true. Yan ang malakas na na influence po, ma'am. Akala nila kung hindi na nila gagamitin, mawawala na yung wika. You see, and they don't like new forms sometimes. So, kaya nga sabi nyo nga, tama po yung preservationists. They want to preserve the old form.
Pero mga kindergarten ang tuturuan mo at grade 1. Siguro pwede pag older. Sige po. Meron pa bang magtatanong from the, kasi ako marami akong tatanungin, pero let's hear from the class, from the teachers, from our guests. Okay. Yes, Ma'am Kat. Ma'am Kat?
Magandang hapon po.
Okay, yes.
Magandang hapon, ma'am.
Opo. Magtatanong lang po ako sa inyong karanasan po sa mga pag-aaral niyo po sa paglibot-libot niyo po sa Pilipinas. Nung pinatupad po ba yung MTB-MLE, may budget po bang pinrovide ang gobyerno? Pero yun nga po itong problema talaga sa MTB-MLE yung implementation. Sa usapin po ng budget, syempre maraming researcher or translator ang dapat ma-mobilize po natin. Pero may budget po bang MTBMLE para dito? Sa naririnig nyo po or sa na-witness nyo po sa inyong mga paglilibot or pag-aaral po. Thank you po.
So, si ma'am, ikayo ba ang sasagot nun? Kung may budget daw.
Ah, sa tingin niyo, ma'am, I mean, working with DepEd, yun nga, no, hindi man lang sila nag-appoint kasi mayroong supervisor dapat sa Filipino, sa English, sa kindergarten, pero wala silang in-appoint na supervisor man lang ng mother tongue. Ano? Kaya nanghihirang sila sa supervisor ng Filipino or English, ganyan. Ano? So yun, wala silang budget para mag-create. Ano? And then yung materials, talagang sa study ko, sariling sikap ng mga teachers. Sabi nila sa division, bibigyan na lang namin kayo ng points para ma-promote kayo. Ano? Pero wala silang binigay na pera. So, meron naman, pero very limited. So, yun po yung aking nakita sa aking pagsasaliksik. So, yun po, Ma'am Kat. Siguro tanungin natin yung mga taga-DepEd. Si Ma'am Ani kasi sa translation siya, no? At saka sa Kapampangan language siya. No?
Yes,
Si
ma'am.
Tio, I saw Tio raising his hand.
Opo, good afternoon po. Tanong ko lang po, sa mga ibang bansa po, meron pong mga similar na ginawa niyo po dun sa Biblia na yun parang nag-translate po sila ng mga teksto tapos yung ginawa nila parang Taglish po, yung kanilang version ng Taglish. For example po, yung Singlish, Singaporean English, meron na po bang mga ganong type of tekstong ni-translate sa mga ibang bansa? Tapos paano po yun ginawa? Kasi pinag-usapan po natin kanina yung dilemma kung yung mga iba't ibang mga Taglish natin mga words parang sumakses po. Tapos yun yung dilemma of how to spell it. Parang yung paano natin siya i-establish yung ano niya, yung normalized spelling niya. Paano po yun nagma-manifest po sa mga ibang bansa? Yun lang.
Okay, ma'am, may sagot ako dyan. So, ang mga pag-aaral po tungkol dito sa tawagin ko ng heterogeneous translation. There are studies, but they are very limited. There is a book that compiled studies of such, but there is no attempt yet to do a whole translation of the Bible using this heterogeneous approach. Pero meron na pong pag-aaral na halimbawa sa isang wika, siguro isang book ng Biblia itatranslate nila. Baka nga hindi pa aabot ng isang book. Ano lamang ho, mga pag-aaral na ginagawa nila. So wala pa. So I must say, and I think I am still correct and accurate when I say that the Pinoy Bible is the very first heterogeneous language translation that was published by the United Bible Societies. Philippine Bible Society being a part of UBS. So it's the first na buo ang translation na ito. So ito pong sumakses halimbawa, mga bagong forms ito. Binanggit ko ang mga ito dahil kailangan kung kagaya namin sa Bible Society, nakatapos kami ng isang heterogeneous translation using English and Filipino, we are asked, what do you think in the future? What will happen? But this, as I have said, kailangan po kasi ang importante sa bayan na yon, mayroong mga language boards. Parang kagaya ng ating komisyon siguro, komisyon sa wikang Filipino. Kailangan, ang maganda, magkakaroon sila ng sarili nilang pag-aaral, pagsusuri, tapos gagawa sila ng kanilang position regarding this. Because this is a linguistic phenomenon. Nobody can ignore this. At ganyan po ang mga wika sa buong mundo. Nagbabago. Lalo na ngayon, ang bilis pong magbago dahil sa panibagong mga developments sa buong mundo. Yung pag pinakinggan niyo po yung mga halimbawa, mga teenager sa Amerika, marunong naman akong mag-Ingles, nag-aral at ang dami ng pagkakataon na nasa Amerika. Kung minsan hindi ko po maintindihan magsalita itong mga teenager. Ibang-iba ang kanilang pagsasalita. Pero kung sasabihin kong, can you say that slowly? Maintindihan ko naman sila. Pero yung natural na pace, talagang mahirap. Ang dahilan dyan, marami ng pagbabago sa mga wika sa buong mundo. Dahil dito sa lalo na ang internet po, malaking dahilan yan. Ang internet at saka yung interaction ng mga computer tools and language itself. Isa pa yan na nagdadala ng maraming mas dumadami yung mga pagbabago po sa wika. So, huwag kayong ma-discourage, ma'am. Kung yun ang interest ninyo para sa inyong thesis, siguro, baka i-limit nyo na yung gusto ninyong pag-aralan. Very interesting po yun.
So, yung standardization po, ano? Kasi minsan, ano ba, rin ba or din, nagtatanong-tanong sila, no?
Yes.
Pero ito, pag yung ang gusto mo ay makakommunicate, maintindihan nila, so mas gagamitin mo talaga pag-aaralan mo kung ano yung language na ginagamit nila. Hindi yung convention or yung standard na sinet ng KWF or sino mang ganyan.
Yeah. Ang hirap mag-decide dahil nga it's a complex world and it's a very complex issue. Oh, language is such a complex issue. But we have to start somewhere. We cannot continue to ignore. We have to start somewhere, even if we will face disagreement. Ganyan po ang wika. Talagang maraming disagreement.
Thank you po. Meron po ba pang magtatanong sa mga teachers, sa mga estudyante? Meron pa? Ma'am, isa pang tanong. Di ba ma'am, nung sunulat yung New Testament, ang ginamit ay Koine Greek, di ba? Di ba
Yes,
yung Koine Greek parang yun din yung salita sa kalye noong unang panahon?
correct. Tama po. Parang sa palengke. Hindi yan yung formal na Greek. Yan yung Greek na ginagamit sa palengke, sa mga paglumalabas ang mga tao. Yan po ang Griego na ginamit sa New Testament. Tama po kayo.
I see. Oo. Kaya tama rin pala yung Pinoy Bible na kung ano yung araw-araw na ginagamit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Meron pa bang magtatanong, magsasalita? Ayan. Okay. One last. Ayan. Ito po. Si Sir Vince. I think si Sir Vince. Not technically related about the class, but I'm actually interested in the expert insight po about the book I actually stumbled across. I'm curious lang po, what are your thoughts po about Cultish by Amanda Montel? It's a book po about language use in cults and how even the smartest of people gets swept up in any kind of group that seems a bit suspicious in a sense.
Oh, okay. So, kailangan siguro nabasa ko yung book na yan. It's a very good question, but I'm sorry, I have not read the book. So I cannot give my opinion about that book. But something that is worth considering. If you have because when you already have a book and you have material, that means that it has assumed a particular role in the country. Kaya imagine, isang nakasulat na sila ng isang libro. Pero hindi po ako familiar diyan sa material, sa sumulat at kung ano ang sinulat diyan sa libro na iyan.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe Vince, if you can explain some more, no? Kailan sinulat niya, so baka hindi siya makasalita, no? Okay, I think ito yung language used in cult. So sa mga well, wala pa akong nakitang ethnography of how language is used in cults.
In what, ma'am?
Kulto.
Mga kulto. Oh, I see. Well, but if we want to do that, it should be easy because we have those groups in the Philippines. But I'm not aware of any particular study regarding the language that was used by them. So I guess that will be reflected in their pero wala naman silang sariling translation, ma'am. Wala akong alam na kulto na mayroon silang sariling translation ng Biblia. Pero siguro mayroon silang sariling mga expression sa kanilang mga practices. Pwedeng pag-aralan yun, yung mga practices nila. Mayroon silang mga paraan para bigyan ng characteristics yung kanilang activities, halimbawa.
Sige, yan. Sige po. So salamat po ulit, Ma'am Dr. Anisha Del Coro for coming, and I hope na kaming mga guro at mga magiging guro ay na-inform, ayan na mama, na-inform, na-enhance ang aming kaalaman sa paggamit ng wika sa classroom at lalo na sa pagsusulat ng mga learning materials. So I hope na ang inyong example, salamat sa inyong example sa translation sa Pinoy Bible. I hope yung ating mga guro na sa iba't ibang wika ay gawin din yung inyong example na kung ano yung wikang ginagamit ng mga bata sa community, yun ang gagamitin nila sa paggagawa ng mga learning materials. At para naman umusad yung ating adhikain na ma-promote ang MLE sa Pilipinas.
Can I just add something, ma'am?
Yes po, ma'am.
Para dito sa kung anong gamit ng mga bata, ang kailangan madali. The language has to be easy. Kasi kawawa pagka nag-impose ang mga teachers halimbawa ng isang paraan ng pagsasalita na mahirap. Kawawa naman po ang mga bata. Hindi lalago ang kanilang kaisipan. Lalo na yung ang pinaka-importanting aspeto ng wika, creativity. Hindi po yan lalago. Hindi yan bubuti kung mahirap. Kaya kailangan madali lang. Yun lang po ang gusto kong idagdag. Pagka pumipili tayo ng wika, nagagamitin para sa edukasyon o kaya ang lalo na sa pag-usad ng learning ng kakayahan, kailangan po ay madali.
Yes.
So, yun ang unang tanong. Ano yung wikang yun na pwedeng gamitin ng mga bata?
Yan. Sabi nga niyo sa Sanrocan, language should be easy.
Should be easy, yes.
Language should be easy.
Should be easy.
Yan. Otherwise, kakamuhian nila ang language na yung subject na mother tongue or Filipino kasi hindi siya madali. Okay? Sige po. Salamat po ulit, ma'am, and we hope na makasama namin kayo ulit sa future.
Yes.
At sana ay, sayang pala yung ipapamigay nyo sa amin na Pinoy Bible.
Yes,
ma'am.
Totoo yun.
Baka naman yung mga interesado, pwede na lang sabihin para humingi kami
Yes.
sa inyo.
Sayang page. Sayang sa page.
Yeah. Or nasa ano naman yata, I think nasa Shopee. Ano, kung
Ano
interesado
po,
kayo.
nasa Shopee at nasa Philippine Bible Society bookstore. Nandun din po sa National Bookstore. Hindi
Ah,
naman
okay.
po siya mahal kasi ginawa pong, lagi namang pinakamura ang mga Biblia namin sa Philippine Bible Society. Just a little bit over 200 lang po. Complete Bible na yon.
Okay.
At saka yung aming Catholic edition, kumpleto pa po yan ng Deuterocanonical books. So,
Okay.
very reasonable po ang aming ang presyo ng aming Biblia.
So, bili na lang kayo sa Shopee. Ayun, mas mahal pa ang mga pinili natin sa coffee shop. Ano? So, ito na lang. So, again, thank you very much. So, class, when you do your worksheets, your lesson plan, and you use language for scaffolding, make sure that you use language that is understandable, easy. So, isa yan sa titignan namin sa pag-check. So, again, maraming salamat for coming today. Maraming salamat
Thank
po,
you
Ma'am
po.
Annie.
Thank
And
you,
we'll see you
ma'am.
again
Thank
next
you,
week.
Shed.
Okay.
Thank you,
Take
everyone.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you also. So, ma'am, leave na ako, ma'am.
Opo, ma'am. End ko na rin po.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
po.
you.